Good.
Good.
Start with an opening statement during the UCF game.
Well, start our first game in a four-game series with UCF, one we've been looking forward to for a while. And I think anytime you have an opportunity to play an in-state school, I think it's a great thing. Obviously, we're very familiar with them and their players, and them with ours. Naturally, it becomes a rivalry right away. And for us, again, another tremendous opportunity to host the Conference USA champions right here in our home stadium.
Just for the record, what's your vertical lead?
Mine?
Yeah.
Not nearly as high as the guys that are sitting back there. So,
it looked pretty
maybe
good.
more than Kalen Hobbs.
It looked pretty good the other night, though.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the more energy we play with, and the better things happen on the football field, the higher that leap gets. So, but I'll make sure to work on it over the off season.
Godfrey played at Miami Central. Did you see him at all? Did you recruit him at all?
Godfrey was a real good football player. I think the whole country recruited him. Very effective. I believe they were close to winning the state title. Certainly changed the football culture. Was helpful in changing the football culture at Miami Central. It's really a dynamic player for them.
They haven't really thrown the ball at all this year so far. Does that change how you play game plan for them?
One more time?
UCF hasn't thrown the ball a lot this year. They haven't thrown a touchdown pass. Does that change how you game plan?
Jeffrey Godfrey was 20-25 last week. He's a very efficient passer. He has some real good wide receivers. His tight end has more yards right now in 2 games than he had last year, the entire season combined. They've allowed only 1 sack in 2 games. So they're real good in the passing game. He could also hurt you with his feet. So they have about as well balanced as an attack as you can have.
I'm sure there's a lot of guys on this team that have played Godfrey in high school. Can you name a few that you can think of right now?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a ton. I know it came out today, in their press release, from Jonathan Foucher, Jordan Ray over at Cypress Bay, to the guys over at Miami Central and the guys over at Miami Northwest. There's a good chunk, Kenny Dillard, Wayne Times, and those guys play with Torian Wilson. I know that Godfrey and who were some of the other guys over there at Miami Central. Miles Pace, a bunch of those guys. Joshua Reese played with Jarris Williams, one of our players as well. I know that Chris Edwards, down at South Dade, played with a couple with J.J. Wharton, and some of those guys also. So there's a good amount of ties. I believe 15 to 18 players have played with each other or against each other.
Just obviously they do, but what kind of headaches does a quarterback who can run like he does, what does that add to your defensive problems, I guess? Well, not problems, but defensive chores, I guess.
Well, you have to play disciplined football. You really do. Obviously, everyone does have an assignment, but he also does a good job at diffusing that assignment. If there's space there, he's going to make you miss. And also, as you can see late in the game against Boston College, he also creates some space. It's just him and one of the better linebackers in the country at the goal line. He puts his head down, runs him over, and gets in the end zone. So, his looks are a little bit deceiving. He's a very explosive guy. I believe he was clocked anywhere at 4.35, 4.4. He's a legitimate threat, with his feet.
Is there a guy out there that you would resemble him to that you played against last year? Anybody in the Sun Belt? Or?
Well, I think there's from I'd say a skill set standpoint, a guy like Dasher has a similar skill set. I think just Godfrey, he's a different level guy. He really is. We had some work on some mobile quarterback last week, in Stein over at Louisville. We've got some great work this week. We feel we have a great one in our program, and Lorenzo Hammond's a real agile, explosive guy, athlete at quarterback. So, again, whenever you face one like that, and the fact that they do have other real good athletes in a big offensive line, you have to be disciplined, you have to be tough, you have to swarm the football, you have to do all the right things.
Seems like they have a pretty deep running game, running back wise, sort of like you guys too. So how does that help you guys? You pretty much have the same thing they do.
Well, when you're deep at running back, it helps you. It helps them, and it helps to be deep at running back because it's a position that takes so many hits, especially in some of the high tempo offenses like ours. That if you do take a lot of hits, a lot of time there's attrition there. There's injury, so it's a luxury to be able to roll in guys that. Where you don't lose a step, where the quality of play does not go down. They are a big backfield. They go anywhere from 210 to 225. On paper, probably a little bit bigger in person, and they take great pride in being very physical. at the point of attack, away from the point of attack, and finishing their blocks and finishing their runs. They combine, you know, the power part of football with the athletic side and getting the ball to their playmakers and using their quarterback to make plays.
Coach, how does it feel to be where you're at right now? This is something really not very common here at FIU. You guys are playing at a really high level of football.
Well, you know what, our guys are extremely fired up, and we now, if I'm not mistaken, we've won, I believe, 9 of our last 11 football games. So winning is becoming a strong tradition here at FIU, and it seems that each win, you know, you feel better and better about it. And I think what helps that is that we have the right guys in that locker room, that once that victory is over, you know, you enjoy in the locker room, you enjoy with your friends and family on the way home, on the flight home or whatnot. But once that plane lands back here in Miami, you're very well aware of the fact that that victory is attributed to the process of the offseason, the process of the week leading up to game day. So immediately our focus is set on the next one. In this case, obviously UCF, which again, a great opportunity for us, again, to play these guys right here in our home stadium.
Do you feel this game's going to be tougher than Louisville? Do you think there's a tougher team?
I think every game's tough. You know, every single opponent that we prepare for in the same way. Not schematically, obviously. You know, there's some tweaks and some wrinkles here and there when you prepare for different opponents. But one thing's for sure is, to us, every single opponent that we play is an opportunity. It really is, and always. You know, we're always going to treat it as a.
Do you think UCF's defense could be one of the top in the nation?
I do.
Right now, they've only allowed 3 points. So.
I do. I know it's early in the season, but I know as from a scoring defense standpoint, they are #1 in the country. I know last year they were top 10 in several different aspects. And what makes them that, they're gifted, they've recruited well, they're athletic, they're explosive, they're very disciplined. That's what you see. You don't see them. You don't catch them peeking and a guy blowing an assignment, and you don't see guys coming wide open and making plays. You don't see them double fitting a gap so there's an extra wide A or B gap so they get split by power or inside zone. They're coached very well. They definitely have a good strength and conditioning program because those bodies are developing over the course of years. And again, yeah, they do have a great defense.